Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the West Covina Planning Commission regular meeting of Tuesday, June 13th. We've got one speaker card so far. And during public comments and addressing the commission, any person wishing to address the Planning Commission on any matter listed on the agenda or on any other matter within our jurisdiction is asked to complete one of these pink speaker cards, which are provided here at the podium, and submit the card to Planning Department staff member here. Please identify on the speaker card whether you're speaking on an agenda item or a non-agenda item. And requests to speak on non-agenda items will be heard during oral communications before the public hearing section of the agenda. This evening, I will lead the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent prayer and meditation. So please rise. Place your right hand on your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Roll call, please, Jeff.
Commissioner Hing? Here. Commissioner Holtz? Here. Commissioner Jimenez?
Present.
Commissioner Redholz?
Here.
Chairman Castellanos?
Here. And for the minutes, did anybody notice any required changes? No. Those are approved as read. And we come to the election of officers, part of our agenda. This is where we change seats, and for the chairman position, I'd like to nominate and make a motion for Vice Chair Don Holtz.
I'll second.
Got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and for Vice Chair,
Now you'd want to switch seats.
oh, now's the time.
Thank you for your service, Dario.
You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. First order of business, I'd like to speak for myself, and I'm sure on my fellow commissioners. I want to thank Commissioner Castellanos for doing a really professional and wonderful job this last year. And I think he really did a class act. So thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Okay, that brings us to election of vice chair. Do we have a
Mr. Chairman, I'll nominate Jose Jimenez, Commissioner Jimenez, to be vice chair.
And I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Pretty easy, huh?
No, I'll try to stay grounded. Thank you.
Do we switch here?
Okay, that brings us to oral communication. This is a time when any member of the public may speak to the commission on any matter within the scope of duties assigned to the commission relating to non-agendized or consent calendar items. Other matters included on this agenda may be addressed when that item is under consideration. For all oral communications, the chairperson may impose reasonable limitations on public comments to assure an orderly and timely meeting. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits the Planning Commission and staff's ability to respond to public comments at this meeting. Thus, your comments may be agendized for a future meeting or referred to staff. The Commission may ask questions for clarifications if desired at this time. Does anybody wish to speak on any item not on the agenda at this time? Okay, we'll close oral communications at this time and go on to public hearings. Public hearing number 2, conditional use permit numbers 16-16 through 16-24 and 17-08, variance numbers 16-11 through 16-8, Administrative use permits number 16-61 through 1627. Subcommittee for design review number 16-78 through 16-89. Categorical exemptions. The applicant is South Hills Homes Partnership. The location is lots on Sunrise Road, Skyview Lane, Rolling Hills Road, and Mountain Ridge Road. The request is to construct 12 single-family homes on 12 existing lots in the South Hills area. Conditional use permits are required for the sizes of the houses. Variances are required for building height, minimum setbacks, retaining walls exceeding 8 feet in height. Administrative use permits are required for the size of the homes. 2-story houses, retaining walls, balconies over 200 square feet, and subcommittee for design reviews are required for the architect of the home. May we hear a staff report, please?
Yes, our Assistant Planner, Veronica Hernandez, will be presenting this report.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Commission. So the applicant, South Hills Home Partnership, is proposing to construct new single-family houses on 12 lots in the South Hills subdivision. All of the lots are located in the R1 zone, Area District 5. 6 of the lots are located on Sunrise Road. That would be lots 1 through 6. 5 of the lots are located to the west of those lots on Skyview Lane and Rolling Hills Road. Those would be lots 18 through 38. And 1 lot, lot 32, is located to the south on Mountain Ridge Road. The chart included in your staff report includes information on the surrounding zoning and uses. The proposed development requires the approval of 10 conditional use permits, 10 variances, 12 administrative use permits, and 12 subcommittee reviews. The chart included in your staff report provides information on each of the entitlements proposed for the individual lots. The properties were subdivided several decades ago and are legal lots of record. Therefore, no subdivision is proposed with this development. Each lot currently has a street address with the exception of lot 32 on Mountain Ridge Road. The municipal code requires applications for the development of individual lots when houses are constructed or additions proposed. In this case, rather than review the development for each individual lot, staff is recommending that the development of the 12 lots be done concurrently, as the houses are proposed by the same developer. Many of the lots are contiguous, and there are 7 unit types being proposed for the architecture of the houses. The charts included in your staff report provide more information on the subject properties and the units. The 12 single-family homes are proposed as 2-story. The proposal includes 7 different floor plans. Each floor plan has a variety of options available to the buyers. The homes have been developed in 2 different architectural styles, including Spanish and Italian. Features for the Spanish style include stucco exterior, recessed windows, decorative lighting, quatrefoils, decorative tile, and clay pipe enhancements, exposed rafter tails, arch windows, wood corbels, wrought iron window grills, pot shelves, window trim, and a hip roof comprised of concrete S-tiles. We'll go through the floor plans as well. The proposed houses feature 5 or 6 bedrooms. All of the houses include 3 or 4 car garages, and the house on lot 32 will feature a 6-car garage. The houses have been designed with both vertical second-story setbacks and horizontal articulation to break up the bulk and mass of the units. Features for the Italian style include stucco exterior, exposed rafter tails, pot shelves, wrought iron window grills, a decorative concrete entry door frame, and a hip roof comprised of concrete S-tiles. We'll go through the elevations and the floor plans. Again, many of them share the same floor plan with a slightly different architecture. And we can go back to any of these if there's a question about the floor plans or the design. And this is lot 32 with the 6-car garage. Okay. Conditional use permits are required for 10 of the properties. The chart included here, as well as in your staff report, summarizes the unit size, and if the address requires an AUP for a maximum unit size exception, an MUSC, or a CUP for a large home. The MUSC and large home are based on calculations of the ratio between the lot size and the unit size. For lots between 20,000 square feet and 24,999 square feet, the maximum allowable unit size is 4,000 square feet. For lots between 25,000 and 29,999 square feet, it's 5,000 square feet. For lots between 30,000 square feet and 34,999 square feet, the maximum size is 6,000 square feet. For lots between 35,000 and 39,000 square feet, the maximum allowable size is 7,000 square feet. And lots over 40,000 square feet, the maximum allowable unit size is 8,000 square feet. An administrative use permit is required for an MUSC when the proposed addition exceeds the maximum allowable unit size. Furthermore, a conditional use permit is required for a large home when the proposed addition exceeds the maximum allowable unit size by more than 25%. So here's the information for the thresholds for each lot and what review process is required for each. Again, 10 of them require a CUP for a large home and 2 an AUP for an MUSC, which we'll talk about right now. Administrative use permits are proposed on all lots. They include 2-story houses, MUSCs, retaining walls between 4 feet and 8 feet in height, and second-story balconies greater than 200 square feet. The municipal code does require the approval of an administrative use permit for 2-story houses or 2-story additions. All of the proposed houses are 2 stories. Again, here's that same chart for the threshold for the review of the houses. The MUSC is required for lots 25 and 38. The applicant is also requesting AUPs to allow retaining walls over 4 feet and under 8 feet in height. Because of the topography and the desire to create level building pads, many of the lots include some type of retaining wall. The lots have been rough graded to create pads for the houses. Retaining walls up to 4 feet in height are allowed by right. Administrative use permits are required for retaining walls between 4 and 8 feet in height. AUPs for retaining walls are required on 7 of the lots. This chart includes information on the lots where an AUP for retaining walls are proposed. For 4 of the lots, variances are proposed because the walls exceed 8 feet in height, and that will be discussed just a little later in the presentation. Additionally, all 12 of the proposed houses allow for an option for second-story balconies greater than 200 square feet in size. The municipal code does require the approval of an AUP for those balconies. They're generally on the north, west, or east elevations of the houses to take advantage of the view. The proposal does include variances on 10 of the lots. Those variances include building height, front, side, and rear yard setback, and retaining walls over 8 feet in height. The chart included in your staff report indicates the variances proposed for each property. The municipal code establishes a building height of 25 feet for single-family properties. An exception is allowed for houses in area districts 4 and 5 to increase the building height if the setbacks are increased on a 1-to-1 basis. So if you increase the height to 26 feet, you would need to add a foot to all of the setbacks. All of the proposed houses are over the standard code requirement of 25 feet. Due to the size of the homes, the proposed roof pitches result in building heights that at certain points exceed that 25 feet. The proposed house heights are as follows. So for lots 1, 5, 26, and 27, they are proposed at 28 feet 4 inches in height. We do have the roof plans for those. The portion in red shows the area that would be above 25 feet. That area goes up to 28 feet 4 inches. For lots 2, 3, 4, 18, and 25, they are proposed at 27 feet 4 inches. And here are the roof plans for 2, 3, and 4, and 25, and 18. I did want to note this is the same roof plan for lot 38, which is proposed at 27 feet 4 inches, but that lot does meet the increased setback requirement, so no variance is proposed for that one. On lot 6, the house is proposed at 26 feet 4 inches. And that's the portion that exceeds that 25 feet height limit. And then, I'll just go back for a minute. On lot 32, the height is proposed at 27 feet 10 inches, but that one is also allowed with increased setbacks. So 10 of them would need a variance, 2 of them meet the requirements. The applicant has the option of reducing the overall size of the homes in order to increase the required front, side, and rear yard setbacks for the first and second story. For lots 1, 5, 26, and 27, they would need to increase all setbacks by 3 feet 4 inches. For lots 2, 3, 4, 18, and 25, the setbacks would need to be increased by 2 feet 4 inches. And for lot 6, the setbacks would need to be increased by 1 foot 4 inches. Staff recommended that the applicant reduce the size of the houses in order to either allow for a roof that would meet building height requirements or to increase the required setbacks in order to allow for additional building height. The applicant opted to continue with the proposal and to not reduce the size of the houses or increase the setbacks. The applicant is therefore requesting a variance from building height for 10 of the properties. So here's the retaining walls again. The municipal code allows a maximum height of 8 feet for retaining walls through the AUP. And there are 4 lots that have retaining walls in excess of 8 feet. So those would be on lots 4, 25, 26, and 27. This chart does detail the maximum height of those retaining walls and whether they are going to be fill or cut. So we have my beautiful graphic here. Retaining walls can either be constructed to cut into the hillside or create an area on the hillside to be filled. The retaining walls on lots 25, 26, and 27 would be cut walls. I can go back to that if anyone wants to see it. These walls will cut into the upward slope from the respective subject properties and be visible mostly from the subject property in question. So they have the retaining walls, it slopes upward. You're not really going to see them from surrounding properties. On lot 4, the lot is a fill wall that's located on an area that slopes downward. Therefore, the retaining wall will be highly visible from surrounding properties, especially those lower in elevation. So as you can see on that lower graphic, the retaining walls are proposed there. The hill does slope downward, so you would be able to see those walls from the surrounding area. The lots are located in an area of topography. The retaining walls do allow the applicant to develop homes on the property, the proposed homes on the property, while maintaining the possibility of meeting setback requirements without reducing the overall size of the homes. The Subcommittee for Design Review reviewed the proposed houses on May 9th, 2017, and forwarded the architectural review of the houses to the Planning Commission, as the Commission would be reviewing the proposals for each house due to the other entitlements requested. A discussion of the Subcommittee guidelines has been included in your staff report. We did conduct a survey of lots surrounding the 3 areas of the proposed houses. As previously discussed, 6 of the lots are located on Sunrise Road, 5 are located on Skyview Lane and Rolling Hills Road, and 1 lot is located on Mountain Ridge Road. The charts included here and in your staff report show the mean and median lot size, square footage of the homes, number of bedrooms, and floor area ratio. The mean is the average of all surveyed houses, and the median is the number that falls directly in the middle if listed in numerical order. So the first chart there shows for lots 1 through 6. For the 19 lots that we surveyed around those lots, the houses as proposed would be 1.29 to 1.5 times larger than the average size of the surrounding homes. That second chart is for lots 18 through 38. Those houses, we surveyed 19 lots, and the proposed houses would be 1.47 to 1.72 times larger than the average size of the surrounding homes. And then the third chart is for lot 32. We surveyed 24 lots, and the proposed house would be 2.42 times larger than the average size of the surrounding surveyed homes. So in your staff report, we have included the findings for conditional use permits, variances, and administrative use permits. Staff has brought the proposed houses to Planning Commission to seek direction on the proposed architecture and size of the houses. As such, no resolutions have been prepared for today's meeting, but the required findings are there for your consideration of the proposed houses. The proposal is considered categorically exempt since the applications consist of the construction of single-family residences on individual properties, and the proposed houses are consistent with the initial environmental impact report certified by the city when the tract maps were approved. Oh, it's kind of small, I apologize. It's in your staff report, though, too. The proposed houses require a range of entitlements, including conditional use permits, variances, administrative use permits, and subcommittee reviews. The development requires the approval of 10 conditional use permits, 10 variances, 12 administrative use permits, and 12 subcommittee reviews. All of the proposed houses are located in neighborhoods with large houses and large lots. They are all of the existing houses are two-story houses, many of them including balconies to take advantage of the dramatic views in the area. And the proposed houses would be the same. The construction of retaining walls will allow for larger level yard areas, and the balconies will allow the residents to optimize the view from the proposed houses. The proposed houses feature 7 model types with 2 styles of architecture, Spanish and Italian. They feature a variety of architectural features and exterior finishes, and as proposed would be 1.9 to 2.242 times larger than the average size of the surrounding homes. Staff initially reviewed the proposed houses and recommended that the applicant reduce the size of the proposed houses in order to meet maximum building height and minimum setback requirements. Staff also recommended that retaining walls will be reduced in height or staggered. The applicant did not redesign the houses or retaining walls. Due to staff concerns, staff has not prepared resolutions of approval for the proposed houses. Staff brought the proposed houses to Planning Commission to seek direction on the architecture and size, as well as the height of the retaining walls. Based on the issues discussed above, staff is recommending continuance to allow the applicant to modify the plans in the following ways. 1, to revise the plan to reduce or eliminate the number of front, side, and rear setbacks that do not meet minimum development standards. 2, to revise the plans to reduce the building height to a maximum of 25 feet, or to provide those increased setbacks as allowed by the code in Area District 5. 3, to reduce the size of some of the units, particularly the larger units and those that are on the lots that do not comply with the recommended front, side, and rear setbacks. Reducing the size may reduce the height of the units as well as allow them to comply with the required setbacks. And finally, to reduce the height of proposed retaining walls in excess of 8 feet in height, or to provide staggered retaining walls to break up that massing. That concludes staff's report presentation. I'm available if you have any questions, and the applicant is present as well.
Are there any questions of staff? Commissioner Reynolds?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Due to the fact that there are so many variances being applied for tonight with these proposed homes, can you kind of review the criteria for the granting of a variance and what is necessary to meet the requirements to get a variance?
Sure. So we did include those findings that are in your staff report. So those would be the required findings that we would need to make in order to approve the variances. So those are included. They include such requirements as, let me just flip to it then. Usually in a variance, you're looking for the exceptional or extraordinary circumstances that apply to this lot that they're not applicable generally to other surrounding properties. There's something unique about these lots that necessitates a variance. But all of the findings are in your staff report on page 16.
Okay, and is it, I would assume that it is your opinion that there's nothing unusual about these lots as far as topography or size, or?
That would, staff in looking at this,
The lots, there's one very large lot, and so that lot, you might be able to make some kind of determination that's very different, but most of the lots are very similar to the surrounding lots, and so they're not, we don't look at them as unusual. That's the way we had analyzed this, correct?
Anyone else? Commissioner Hernandez? No?
Just one.
Okay.
Staff, do the plans, were they ever revised to try to address the concern or try to eliminate the need for variances?
Commissioner Jimenez, when we reviewed the project with the applicant, it was the applicant's request to seek the variances. And again, as noted in the staff report, there are alternatives. The houses are large, but the applicant chose to go with what was proposed. And before you are the size of the homes with the respective variances. So the applicant chose to just move forward with these.
In my words, so no attempt was made to try to revise the plans to address staff's concerns related to the variances this evening?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Castellanos?
No, I'm okay. Commissioner Redholt covered my question.
Okay. Commissioner Hang?
I actually have one question regarding the variance. It seems like it's just because the pitch of the roof increased by, I guess, 1 or 2 feet to 3 feet max. That's what causes all the variance to kick in? Is that?
Yes, that is correct. So there's certain areas that you can see here where the roof pitch, because of the size of the homes in some areas, is higher than the 25 feet. So here you can see most of the house meets the 25-foot requirement, but those areas in red are above the 25-foot. So they could reduce the pitch, reduce the size of the homes. Oh, yes.
As usual, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So there's more than one way to reduce the height. One way is to change the roof pitch. Another way is design the roof differently so the pitch doesn't go as high. Another way, and I didn't bring my pointer down, there's a certain plate height. There's a certain distance from dimension from the floor to the ceiling. That, I'm sure that they've maximized that. That can be reduced. So there's more than one way. It's not just about how the roof is designed, it's about how the house is designed.
So, but it seems like currently, it seems like the chimney seems to be a little bit taller than some of the roof. It seems like it stick out a little bit more, but the roof itself seems to be sticking out like 1 to 3 feet max above what it was required.
You are correct.
And if they were, let's say hypothetically, if they were to change the pitch, because currently it seems like they're using 3/12 hip roof.
That sounds
So
right.
it seems like it's pretty low pitch already. Supposedly a higher pitch would look nicer in a big, nice house, I guess you can. So if you, I mean, they could go flat roof, then they would meet all the requirement and not have to deal with the variance. But that would really look ugly for the community. I mean,
Well,
is that a possibility as well, or?
flat roof is a possibility, and actually, I think they did talk to us about.
I mean, I
the
wouldn't
possibility of a
suggest
flat-
that, by the way, but.
For whatever reason, West Covina, years ago, before any of us, for some of us probably were born, they set an established height at 25 feet. I don't know the reason for that. I don't think anybody in the room knows the reason for that. But every house in West Covina that's been constructed over the years has followed that guideline. There's no question that some of the things that you're pointing out, Commissioner Hing, are correct, that the larger the house, the higher the roof tends to be, and you really don't want a flat roof because it kind of has a tendency to make the house look strange. But nevertheless, we have a 25-foot height limit. All the houses up there have been built, in this neighborhood, have been built with a 25-foot height limit. So there's a way to do it. If the commission in their authority would like to entertain the variance, then you have a perfect ability to do that. Staff would not stop you from that. That's the reason it's coming to you, to find out if you agree with our analysis, or if you happy with the way they're designed now and want to support the variance.
And also, it seems like the height of each floor is not 8 feet. Can I assume that? Because some of
think
the
you could-
diagram is so small, I can't barely read any.
It's hard to, yeah, I think you can assume that, but I think
It's
that'd be a
9
good
foot or
question.
10 foot?
I think that'd be a good question for the applicant.
Okay.
Jeff or staff, just to confirm, the zoning code treats chimneys different than the building height, correct? So I believe it affords some level of exceeding the 25-foot mark, if I'm correct, right? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a question for staff. I'm trying to phrase this. The retaining walls, especially the larger ones, the 30-foot and 20-foot, and you referred to them, I think, as a cut wall or cut back or something like that. Are they doing that because they want to, the house is large and they need to do that in order to reinforce the hill and the structure of the earth because of the setback being close to the wall? Is that reinforcing?
I think the main reason, again, the applicant might be respond to this better, is that they want to increase the pad, the level pad area for the
Okay.
lot, for the use of the residents.
Okay.
In some cases, I think it does allow them to increase, it does allow them to increase the size of the unit to some degree, but
The
it doesn't.
footprint.
Yeah, the footprint of the house, but it doesn't seem like they have maximized that. Because a lot of areas where the retaining walls are, it's just yard area.
But we're only talking about, 8 feet setbacks and all that? And if it's a 30-foot high wall, it seems to me that there's quite a bit of earth that it's holding back for the footprint of the house.
That is true.
So if the footprint was smaller, they may not need as high a retaining wall to hold the earth. Am I saying that correctly?
That is true. If they reduce the size of the house, they could have a smaller pad size and just as much yard area.
Okay, and not have as high a retaining wall?
And not have a
Or
high-
maybe even have a retaining wall. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, would the applicant like to come up? And would you please fill out a card and give it to Mr. Garcia when you're done? A speaker card?
It's somewhere. I'm Jeff Tuck. I'm with Hassan Development Company.
I do have it.
I'm a registered architect, though I'm not the architect of record of these particular house plans. Glad to answer any questions that I can that you might have. South Hills was the original developer of the South Hills Estate area. It was 300 acres, 300 houses were developed. 6 of these houses were lots that were undeveloped, left over. The pads were graded, but no houses were ever built on them. The 6 houses on Sunrise there are existing houses on the lots that will be removed. I think those were the original model homes for Ponderosa homes in the late 70s or early 80s. Basically, the houses that have been designed are trying to capture the market, the current market for larger homes with higher ceilings. We do have 10-foot ceiling heights on the ground floors, 9-foot ceilings on the second floor. And the overall issue about the height is a function of that. You were asking about roof slope. 3 to 12 is the minimum per code for a tile roof. It can't be any shallower than that. And the chimneys as well. Chimneys are exempt. The reason the chimneys stick up is they have to be 2 feet higher than the roof area, 10 feet away from the chimney. So that's why they stick up higher than they do. Basically, we've got houses that are Italian or Mediterranean, Spanish in style, because of the roof slope situation. The low pitch of the roof is the only thing that fits that style. If we had the ability to go higher, you could have houses in that area that would be French Norman in style or English in style, but because of the low height limiter for the city of West Covina. We're kind of stuck with this particular architectural style. As Jeff said, your surrounding neighbors, Covina has a 35-foot R1 height limit. Walnut has a 35-foot height limit. Glendora is 25. Diamond Bar is 35. San Dimas is 35. Azusa is 35. Pasadena is 32 to 36 feet, depending upon the area in the city. San Gabriel's 28. San Marino's 30 to 35 feet. So, as you can see, you're significantly lower than most of the surrounding areas. In terms of resolution of it, yes, we have areas in the middle of the houses, because it's a continuous roof slope to the peak ridge, that are 5% to 15% of the total roof area that exceeds that limit. Now, we could make those areas flat roof, and we comply with all the setbacks, with the exception of 2 lots. We'd prefer not to do that because of building flat roof areas in the midst of a pitched roof house for water problems, leaking, et cetera. It turns out to be a nightmare. That's why we continued with the plans as they are in order to try to ask for a variance so that we can keep the architectural continuity and avoid having flat roof areas. That's kind of basically it. We would still end up, even if we did reduce the 2, we'd end up with 2 houses with a setback variance. One is lot 18 with a 2nd story setback variance, and lot 25, I believe, which is on a cul-de-sac. It's a very irregularly shaped lot. My understanding is there's some precedence that the commission has granted that for front yard setback in a cul-de-sac, where the cul-de-sac's curve eats up so much of the front yard that we've applied for I think it's a 25-foot setback there, or instead of 30, or 20 instead of 25. I can't remember what it is. 20 instead of 25. So, any questions? I'll try to field them. The engineer is here who did the plans for the retaining walls. He could answer questions if you have any questions on that.
Any questions for Mr. Tuck? Commissioner Castellanos?
So if you met some of the setbacks or all of them, would that, in turn, by redesigning the house that way, potentially reduce the need for a variance both in setbacks and the height?
If we made those areas that are shown crosshatched in the house flat roofed, we wouldn't be talking about a request for any variances for setbacks or height limit, with the exception of those 2 lots that I just mentioned.
No, not flat roof. I mean, if the house were made smaller, and thereby not requiring variance for the setbacks, would that redesign also cause the height to potentially come down within the height limit?
Well, theoretically, if we have a constant roof slope from eave to eave, yes, you reduce the width of the house, you're reducing the height of the roof, yes.
Okay, thank you.
We'd prefer not to do that.
Right. That was my only question.
Any other questions, Mr. Tuck? Commissioner Jimenez?
Just a few, actually. You mentioned at the start of your comment, Mr. Tuck, you're the architect of record, but not the architect.
No, I'm not the architect of record. I am a registered architect. I am not the architect of record of those particular
Okay,
houses.
so just to confirm, you did not prepare these plans?
I did not.
But you have an intimate knowledge of them?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to confirm. So talk to me about, you mentioned also in your comments, something about the 3 to 12 slope on the roof. What's triggering that? Is that the building code?
Building code.
Okay. When the properties were purchased, were you aware of the height requirements, or the applicant, or the property owners, were they aware of the City of West Covina zoning code requirements as they pertain to height in this district?
In the 90s, we built 25 houses in the South Hills estate areas, yes.
So are you saying they've owned the property since the 90s?
That's correct.
Okay,
They've
so.
owned the property since the late 80s.
Okay, so when we embarked in this latest process, we were still aware of the height requirements that are currently in place today. Okay. Here's the struggle I think I have. And you heard one of my fellow commissioners talk about it, about the unique or extraordinary conditions that we have to consider as part of our decision-making process. I think a lot in these situations, what is unique or extraordinary? Or are we looking at a situation where this is a self-imposed hardship?
Well, I think the lots are pad areas that are impacted by slope in a lot of instances. You have some large lots necessarily, but they just, you couldn't particularly get a large house on those lots without, asking for variances.
If, in talking about the impacted pads, do you plan on addressing this by grading the properties in such a way where you would alter the existing grade so that it results in a new grade, maybe above existing grade, or maybe in a certain case below grade of what's there today?
The pad levels are all set, and we don't propose to change any pad levels.
Okay, thank you.
It's just enlarging them by the nature of the retaining walls that we proposed.
Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yeah, thank you. Just kind of picking up on what the Vice Chair said. Say that you're totally aware of what the code states as far as height, building height. And you're asking for a lot of variances, and there is a remedy available to you to avoid the variances, and that is to reduce the size of the house.
Well, it sounds bad because we're proposing 12 houses here, so.
No, I understand that.
There's 12 variances.
Right, I'm just taking, but just take them individually, that's fine. But there is a way, there is a remedy which somebody has chosen to not even address, it sounds like, because you want to build, I guess, a bigger homes, I guess. Would that be the reason, or?
We think the design and the architecture would be more consistent by having the roof peak go up to its natural height, rather than having a flat area, a roof, as a flat area in the middle of the building.
Okay, all right.
Commissioner Hang?
I actually have one question. You mentioned about regarding grading, that you're not regrading. Is it due to the fact that the street was built already with the current
The
existing pad?
infrastructure is all in, the pads are already certified, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to be a little redundant here. Everything I think I heard my fellow commissioners say is about reducing the size of the unit. And just for the public's information, you know what the standard is in our city for unit size, for balconies, for roof height and all that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you look at the homes that you're going to build here, and I'll just go through most of them, it's like almost, I think it's 9 out of 12. You're talking about the unit size now, 3,300 square feet larger, 5,000 feet larger, 5,000 larger, 3,000 larger, 3,400, 3,400, 5,000, 3,100, 3,500. I mean, that's quite a bit over what the standard is.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Pardon? I'm on page
The 25%
7.
increase over the maximum allowed, I don't know that we are exceeding that, with the exception of the one house, lot 32, which is an aberration because it's a 132,000 square foot lot.
Right.
That we're not even talking about variances on that.
Okay,
because we
but
have the increased
just take
sidewalks.
that one for instance. The maximum unit size is 8,000 square feet. You want to build 11,500 square foot on that lot. And that's 3,500 square feet larger than standard or acceptable.
I mean, it is a custom house,
So,
and I would think it would be in keeping with other one-off, single custom houses that have been proposed within the city, especially within that area.
well, that's one. I'm talking about there's 12. And every one of them is larger than what supposedly the code is, yes?
Everyone is larger than the, what, 4,000 square feet?
Right.
Perhaps I could be helpful in how the code is structured and what those numbers on page 7 are saying. And basically, what the city did in the late 90s was they set some thresholds for review. So not to say that a house shouldn't be any bigger than this, but to say that if a house is bigger than this, it should require some kind of review, and if it's this much bigger than that, it should require a higher level review. So on that chart, the maximum unit size is, anything over that requires the approval of an administrative use permit. And then the next one, the 25 above that, if you're above that, you require a CUP. That's what this chart is trying to tell you.
Right.
So it's a level of review, not necessarily saying, it's not a variance that they're going over the size that's allowed, it's just a level review. It establishes a threshold for review.
Well, the only point I was trying to make is that we're saying, I think all of us, that if they reduce the size of the house, it would eliminate all these variances. And I was just trying to point out how much larger they are than the standard, okay? The other thing is, and it's not a biggest issue, is this for me, but every balcony you have, which it says allowed 200 square feet, those are almost doubled, some more than double. So everything is just, seemed like it's just being larger, larger, larger. And that's my concern.
That is the trend in houses today.
Any other questions of Mr. Tuck? No?
I actually
Commissioner
have
Hang?
thank you. I guess we're comparing to the code currently. We're looking at maximum unit, and it depends by where the lot is at. It's 4,000, 7,000, 8,000. That's according to the area where you live and what size of the lot that you have, it seems like.
Size of the lot. Not the area you live, the size of the lot.
Okay,
Only.
but then we're not, it seems like that area, we're not comparing to the house that was built, because I've recently, I guess, went to the development that they built, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 homes up there. They're quite large. And are we comparing to that?
Yes, but not on that page. Page 7, that chart is telling you what the code standards are and the thresholds for review and what they're proposing and why it requires an AUP or CUP.
So those houses that was just recently finishing up or still building currently are not
They are.
4,000 square foot?
Well, so if you go to page 12 and 13, Ron, if you want to, why don't you go ahead and finish it?
So if you go to page 12 and 13, so the way we analyzed, we did incorporate based on the location of these lots, the Vandale development that was before you, which was approved, and Taylor Morrison. And just to give you some rough numbers, for example, the Taylor Morrison houses that were built, they ranged in the below 6,000, between 5 and 6,000 square feet in size. So those houses were incorporated in the analysis.
That's when the house is like 1.29 to 1.5 times larger.
That is correct.
If it's were to compare to the current,
The houses surrounding that.
okay.
Yeah.
So really, it's not 2 times larger than what the code,
That only is because of the lot 32, that
Well,
two
lot,
times.
lot 32 is much larger, but it's a much larger lot. I would agree with what Mr. Tuck is saying there, but I'm not sure if that's what you were saying, Commissioner Hing. But yeah, lot 32 is the only one that shows to be significantly larger, but it is a significantly larger lot. The other ones are roughly between 1.29 and 1.72 times the size of the surrounding units.
I guess I'm comparing, because right now the house is 7,000, 9,000 square foot or so, up to 11, because that particular lot is 132,000 square foot. However, if we're comparing that compared to the exact maximum unit size, so it seems a lot larger than if we were to compare to what was approved a few years back, 2-3 years ago, that the house is being built right now, they're averaging 6,000 square foot,
Right. and
which
that's-
is not even in here.
It's not in that chart. We're not, so it's
I
in-
understand that, I
it's in the
understand that.
charts
I'm
too.
just trying to understand that, are we building a lot larger home in that particular area? Are we building similar home in that particular area?
You're building, they're proposing larger lots, and some of them are quite a bit larger, but generally larger.
1.2, 1 to 1.5 instead of like 2 times larger.
That is correct. What, about 1.3 to
1.2.
1.7.
Okay,
but not 2 times larger, agreed.
okay.
And again, just to go back, the chart on page 7 is not comparing the chart on page 7 is to let you know why a conditional use permit is necessary. It's not there to talk about the size of the lots or, you know, what it's like around there. It's to tell you why it needs a conditional use permit or an administrative use permit. That's why that last column on there has those in there, has the acronyms for those.
So you're saying that we're not to look at this and expect it to be 4,000 square foot or so?
That's
I'm saying
correct.
that, the code doesn't require that any house in a lot of that size of, what's the lot size, 24,000 to be 4,000 square feet. It's saying that if it's more than 4,000 square feet, you need an administrative use permit.
That's why we're here,
And
basically.
it's more than 5,000 square feet, you need a CUP, conditional use permit. And that, you're correct, that is why we're here.
It's not prohibited to go larger than that, it just requires a
Okay,
review.
so I just want to make it clear. The development that just, or currently building right now is about 6,000 square foot or more.
They range between 5,500 and a little under 6,000 square feet.
So closer to 55 to 6, so not over
55 to
6,
6.
55 to 6. That's
Okay.
including garage.
That is including the
I have
garage.
to defer to you on this. Those are the latest tract homes that were built in that area. If we consider these to be custom, semi-custom, what other applications and houses, size of houses have you approved recently in that area of Hillside Drive?
I mean,
I'm not sure we've approved there have been any proposed.
My understanding is there's a really large house that sits up above.
We got to stay up here.
You need to talk to us over here, please.
There's a very large house that sits up above one of the old lots, kind of up behind lots 25, I believe.
I think I know which one you're talking about. I don't think, we don't have a proposal on that. I mean, if that was built, it was built probably several years ago and beyond our memory.
Probably so.
That's Outlook.
But a very large house.
It's a very large lot, yeah.
Yes.
Well, 10 of the 12 require a CUP, correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Commissioner Reynolds, you have a question
Yeah, I
of
just have a
staff?
question of staff. Is there an exception in the code for custom or semi-custom homes? Or is that the variance process?
That's the
that we're
variance
dealing with tonight?
Correct, that's the variance
Okay,
process.
Thank you.
And also to clarify, Commissioners, the Vandale and the Taylor Morrison projects, most of the houses require conditional use permit approvals. Based on the size of the lot, as Jeff was describing, the larger the lot, in some cases, few of them only required an administrative use permit. But again, administrative use permits and conditional use permits were requested for those lots.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Tuck?
There are also a lot of variances granted?
For as you remember with the Taylor Morrison lot, there were some variances that were granted based on the shape of the lot. It was difficult to comply with the front yard setback, especially on a cul-de-sac. All the homes for Taylor Morrison were approved, did not request variances for building height. They were able to increase the setbacks for those homes. For Vandale, I believe it was 3 homes that requested variances for height and setback. And that was again based on the location of the lot and the shape of the lot as well.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Tuck? Thank you, Mr. Tuck. Does anyone else want to speak in favor of the project? Does anyone want to speak against the project? Seeing none, I'll close it to public comment and open it up to commission discussion. Who'd like to go first? Commissioner Castellanos.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm not very comfortable with granting these variances. I think, as staff indicated, there's more that can be done to work with staff. I don't really see, a little mainly uneasy with some of the retaining wall variances and the height. Yeah, and it's just a lot of them. So I'm not comfortable moving forward with these variances, and I'd like staff's recommendations to be taken into consideration, and that's all I've got.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yeah, thank you. I tend to agree with my fellow Commissioner Castellanos. The applicant has owned these properties for a long time, as stated at the microphone. They're well aware of what the requirements were that the city required for many, many years. What I find, I guess troubling is the word, is that there apparently was no consideration, let alone effort, no consideration, no effort to address the problems. None. That bothers me. That tells me we don't care about what your code says. We're going to submit, we're going to roll the dice, and that's what you're doing, you're rolling the dice, and that's fine, roll the dice. But, you know, from my seat on this commission, we have a duty, you know, to review and come to a decision on what we think needs to be done. The other homes in the area, because I questioned staff on that today, the other developments there, made adjustments to comply. They had variances, which they requested, and they were granted. Variances, and if you're going to vary from the code, the variance process and procedure is very precise. There's got to be something about your piece of property that you want to develop that puts you at a disadvantage to other pieces of property. It tries to balance the scales. That's what the variance is there for. None, maybe one, there's really no, there's nothing unique. You just want to build big homes. You want to build tall, big homes. Okay, that's fine. But there's a remedy to get around these variances and to meet the setbacks and to meet the roof heights. You can, it's been done all the time. You just reduce them a little bit. Whatever the ratio is, you meet that. You don't have all these variances. And you can still, the designs are beautiful. I love the designs. But I just can't support all these variances. I just can't do it. So, you know, my suggestion is, perhaps, I don't know, I've only heard from one commissioner, but if there's, I don't know, one more, that'll be 3. And then you're going to kind of have to go back and work with staff. And you're going to have to consider what staff was suggesting to you. Because to this point, there's been no consideration. That bothers me. I don't like that. Thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez?
You know, Mr. Tuck, you're in a unique situation, I think. You're having to represent the team and their needs. At the same time, you have to stand here before us and try to address our needs. I listened to your commentary this evening, and just one comment really jumped out at me, the thought that we're stuck with this architectural style in the city of West Covina is the one thing that really jumped out at me. And I believe this is not a situation where we should be stuck with anything. I think here you have an opportunity, and I'm going to say a challenge, to try to go back, hearing some of the recommendations so far from my fellow commissioners, as well as staff's recommendation this evening, to try to address and work within the envelope, work within the parameters of the zoning code to try to come back with something that's within code. Again, I want to re-echo, we shouldn't be stuck with something, because the city of West Covina has a 25-foot height requirement in this particular zone. Other cities, they may be more generous with the height, but I'm sure they have also requirements that regulate plate height, such as Pasadena. I'm very familiar with their code. So even though you can go up to 32 feet, you're still capped at a 23-foot plate height. So that plays into all this, right? So more than anything, please do not consider us having to be stuck with some sort of architecture that could be an abomination to this neighborhood. And please take the considerations this evening as you go back and work with your team to come back with a project that we don't want to be stuck with, but that we're more than happy to approve. Thank you.
Commissioner Hang? Anything?
Wow. Yeah, I'll go. Well, I love the design of the house. It is big. However, I feel that if our code is giving them, I guess if we give them criteria and they're building us a $few million home, this is a multi-million-dollar home, I would believe, when it's done. So if we can work with the 5 commissions to give them a foot or 2 foot of increase in height so they can give us a beautiful roof or a beautiful house, not too much to ask for, in my opinion. And also, they have to work with our code, because in today's code, I used to live in a height of a house that is 7 foot. I love it because it makes me look tall. But today, all the new homes are built with 10-foot height ceiling, 9-foot height ceiling. So to some extent, our code may be dated. And if we are asking them to work, I mean, my fellow commissioner mentioned that we are stuck. Well, to a certain extent, we are creating that issues, and should we be able to work with them and open it up? And that's why they're here, asking us for a foot to 3 foot height. I don't think that is too much to ask for, especially if they're building and giving us 12 beautiful homes. So the stuck situations, we can unstuck that for the developer. We can help them out in that way, and I think we should. Now, yes, they should follow our code. They're not outrageously out of spec. The only reason that it's out of, it's the setback. I mean, is it too much to ask for, 1 to 3 foot more, smaller? Then they have to change all. I mean, designing a house, especially on a hillside, is not as easy as drawing a box. And we are giving them a box to work with, restricting the height, restricting all this stuff. And then, of course, if they want to work with us, and even though we mentioned that, yes, there are a lot of variants, but there really is one variance, it's the height issue. But there are 12 homes, maybe 12 variants. But it's not 12 variants that they're asking for. They're really only asking for 1 variance. What's incorrect for the, which one are we talking about?
It's more than just the height. I just wanted you to be aware.
Well, if they were to reduce the height, then none of these variants would exist.
Correct.
So it is to some extent one issue. But then our code at the same time is very restrictive too. If it's 25 feet, but the 5 of us, we could make some changes tonight so that we can help them out, and it will make our city more beautiful to some extent.
If you want, make a motion. If not,
I'd like to motion to approve it.
do you have a second?
Okay.
No second? Mr. Castellanos, do you have anything?
No, I think I would be more willing to consider flexibility if the applicant had considered working with staff, not just a flat no. Some sort of meeting in the middle would make me feel a lot more comfortable than, as Commissioner Redholt said, a gamble. And I think they're very large, not just a little bit large. That's where I'm coming from, is if there was a meeting in the middle as opposed to just, this is what we want, I think I'd be a lot more comfortable with maybe considering some flexibility.
Thank you. I guess from my seat, I don't want to be redundant, but one of the things I heard right in the beginning is when the applicant said they refused to work with staff to make any changes. And I can say, because I've been on this commission now for quite a few years, and I can tell you that staff has gone out of their way to help people, get their projects done, and gone out of their way to meet them halfway. But to hear an applicant say, no, I'm not going to meet with you to discuss anything, really gives me concern. And I guess I need to ask the applicant if he is willing to work with staff before we make a motion.
We have been working with staff all the way along.
Well, come on up, Mr. Tuck, please.
I mean, we have not been avoiding staff. We've been working with staff all the way along. Plans have been revised.
My question is, they made certain recommendations that you were not willing to meet. Is that correct?
The choice was to go before the Planning Commission to try to request the additional height. That was our only option
Okay.
in order to get that height.
Okay,
I mean, staff isn't going to grant that.
okay.
So we needed to go before you to see if we could get that variance. We were asking for your guidance to see where this goes. I mean, there is a comment in the staff report about reducing the size of the houses, but it was reducing the size of the houses as a method to reduce the height of the roof, not to make the houses smaller. So, you know, certainly we're willing. We always assumed that from what the staff's recommendations that came out just the other day in the resolution or the staff report, we figured tonight you would give us guidance. We would go back and make whatever changes needed to be made in order to get them approved.
So are you saying you were willing to go back with staff and work on some of the recommendations?
If that is your guidance, that's what we will be doing.
So that's an affirmative yes?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Perhaps I could try to be a little helpful in saying, yes, Mr. Tuck has been in a lot. It's not, I understand where you're coming from, Chairman, just to make sure that everyone understands. It's not like they have been avoiding us. We've met
Right,
with them.
I understand.
They have a certain thing that they want to achieve, and that was the issue. So I would say, you know, there's 12 houses. 10 of them need variances as proposed. 2 of them do not. So there's 2 houses that really, and one of them is that large lot. It doesn't need a variance. And then lot 38, which is on Skyview, does not need a variance. So both of those, so you're really talking about 10 houses now. And I do agree, in concept at least, that, you know, when you have a lot on a cul-de-sac, that is an unusual shaped lot. Sometimes, especially if you look at it and there's a pinch point, right? There's a flat surface of the front of the house, and then the road curves around. So you can take an average of that, and the average may meet the requirement for the setback, but the actual minimum measurement may not comply. We can work with them on that lot. I think it's the other lots that we would like to see either lowering the height to meet the 25 or increasing the setback to comply with what the code does allow, the 1-to-1. The code does allow you to go over 25 feet. Please understand that. It just says that if you do, you've got to have 1 foot of setback increase for every foot you go up. So there's a way to do it. The code, the fathers and the mothers, whoever was doing this code back in the day, they came up with this standard to allow for custom lots on these large lots by doing that. They didn't want to have large lots on minimal setbacks. They wanted to, if you're going to have a large house with a large lot, they wanted to push it back away from the. So those are the things we would be recommending, and it sounds like that you also are recommending that. And then I believe the only other thing then is the retaining wall heights, which we're suggesting be at 8 foot. They can go over 8 foot if they terrace it up and then stagger it back 5 feet and then go up again. There are methods to do that to still comply with that 8 foot standard and go over the 8 foot total. So they do have some options in that regard, and
I think what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're okay with lot 32 and 38 the way it is, because the retaining wall is only 7 foot, 6 foot.
yes.
So those 2 are all right. The other 10, you would like to massage and work over.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Reynolds.
Question. I know it's all presented as one proposal. Is it possible to approve those 2 lots? Or not?
Yes, in theory it is, but you have no resolutions in front of you.
Okay, gotcha.
But when we come back, we will bring back resolutions to approve. We won't do this again. We will bring back the resolutions to approve, and if you still have problems with some, you can do that. You could approve 10 of them and hold 2 of them up for redesign.
And on the retaining walls, in your discussion with the applicant, was that terrace, was that proposed
It was discussed with the applicant.
and rejected?
And again, they wanted to move forward with this proposal.
As proposed?
But I think they had mentioned that they would be open to alternatives.
So as far as we're concerned, we can let the applicant know that we're all right with 32 and 38, right?
Yes.
And we're just asking him to come back to staff to work with you on the other 10. Are you willing to do that, Mr. Tuck?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for that?
I would recommend a motion to a date uncertain. We'll be renoticing it.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, got it. First and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0. Did you vote? Okay. 5-0. No. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, let's go here now. Oh, here we are, okay. That brings us to, where am I here? Where did I go with my, bear with me here, Mr. Fumbles. Oh, okay. We're stuck together. That brings us to item number 3, tentative parcel map number 73142, administrative use permit number 16-16, administrative use permit number 16-54, categorical exemption. Applicant is Mr. Rihan Hao. Hope I pronounced that right. Location is 524 Barranca Street. The request for approval of a tentative parcel map to subdivide a 36,942 square foot lot in 2 parcels. Parcel 1 is 18,471 square feet, and parcel 2 is 18,471 square feet, to allow for the construction of 2 single-family homes on the northeast corner of Barranca Street and Cortez. May we have a staff report, please?
Yes, our Assistant Planner, Christine Delstrinos, will be presenting that.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Commission. I'm presenting to you tentative parcel map number 73142, conditional use permit number 17-05 and 17-06, administrative use permit number 16-16 and 1654, and subcommittee design review number 16-72 and 16-73. The applicant is requesting approval of a tentative parcel map to subdivide an existing 36,942 square foot residentially zoned parcel into 2 lots as followed. Parcel 1, 18,471 square feet, and parcel 2, 18,471 square feet. The 2-lot subdivision is being requested to facilitate the construction of 2 single-family residences on the site. The applicant is requesting the approval of conditional use permits for a large home and administrative use permits for 2-story houses. The subject property is located in the single-family residential R1 zone and Area District 3. The site is flat and currently facilitates an existing single-family residence with a detached garage. With the proposed subdivision, the current topography will be maintained. The project site is located in a developed residential neighborhood. The project site is surrounded by single-family residences on all sides. There are 2 schools located near the site, Mesa Elementary School and South Hills High School. The subject property is located south of Barranca Street and west of Cortez Street. Notices of public hearing have been mailed to 30 owners and occupants of properties located within 300 feet of the subject site. We received 2 emails of concern, one from Dr. Majid stating that a traffic study report should be considered prior to the approval due to the fact that the crossing of Barranca and Cortez Street is a very high traffic area. Additionally, there are 2 schools in close proximity to the subject property. He states that he has seen fatal accidents and also suggests that the driveways of the proposed units be on Barranca Street and not on Cortez Street. The property owner is on 3028 East Cortez Street, which is indicated with the green dot. His email should be before you as well. The other email of concern is from Mr. George McClellan of 512 South Barranca Street. The homeowner is objecting the applicant's proposal and stating that the proposal is not a good fit for the existing properties and the existing zoning. So those were the only 2 calls or letters of concern that we received. The project consists of a request for the approval of a tentative parcel map to subdivide a 36,942 square foot property in 2 lots, both being 18,471 square feet. The applicant, Wenjin Hao, is the property owner. The existing property is 131 feet wide and approximately 262 feet deep. The lot is located on the north corner of a 2-lane Collector Street, Cortez Street, and a 4-lane minor arterial, Barranca Street. Parcel 1 will be 18,471 square feet in size with 131 feet of frontage along Barranca Street. Vehicular access will be provided via driveway on Barranca Street. The applicant is proposing to construct a 5,109 square foot, including an attached 711 square foot 3-car garage, 2-story house on Parcel 1. Parcel 2 will be 18,471 square feet in and will have a 141 feet of frontage along Cortez Street. Access will be provided via a single entrance driveway on Cortez Street. The applicant is proposing to construct a 5,109 square foot, including an attached 711 square foot 3-car garage, 2-story house home on Parcel 2. Both of the homes are very similar in size. I think they're the same exact house but oriented differently. The proposed subdivision and construction of 2 single-family residences are in compliance with the municipal code development standards. The municipal code establishes a minimum lot size, lot depth, and lot width for limits for lots in the residential agriculture zone. Additionally, the city separated into 2 various area districts that also determine required lot size and lot dimensions. The proposed parcels are located in Area District 3. Therefore, the minimum lot size is 14,400 square feet and the minimum lot width is 90 feet. The minimum lot depth is 125 feet. The parcels exceed the minimum lot size requirement of 14,400 square feet, minimum lot width of 90 feet, and a minimum lot depth of 125 feet. Parcel 1 and Parcel 2 are both rectangular in shape. Both lots exceed the minimum requirements for individual lot development under its designed area district. Conditions of approval have been included in the resolution requiring the applicant to underground utilities and to reconstruct all damaged concrete curbs and gutter per city standards. The tree survey prepared for this project identified a total of 35 trees on the project site. The tree species present on the project site are carrotwood, Chinese elm, Senegal date palm, jacaranda, Hong Kong orchid, silk tree, Mexican fan palm, Japanese loquat, European olive, coast redwood, silk oak, Modesto ash, tree of haven, Afghan pine, California live oak, California sycamore, and a California black walnut. The tree survey shows that there are a total of 3 significant trees, consisting of California sycamores and California live oak. The tree survey also shows that there is 1 total of a heritage tree consisting of a California black walnut. The applicant is requesting the removal of 25 trees, including the 3 significant trees. Conditions of approval have been included in the resolutions to protect the drip lines of the heritage tree during construction through the installation of barrier fencing. The applicant is requiring to mitigate the removal of 3 significant trees at a ratio of 2:1. That replacement trees must be at least 36-inch box trees. A tree removal permit and final landscape irrigation plan are required per conditions of approval. For lots with a lot area that is under 20,000 square feet, the maximum allowable unit size is 3,999 square feet, or 35% of the lot area, whichever is less. The subject properties are 18,471 square feet. Therefore, the maximum allowable unit size for the property is 3,999 square feet. An administrative use permit is required for a maximum unit size exception when the proposed homes exceed the maximum allowable unit size. A CUP is required for a large home when the proposed addition exceeds the maximum allowable unit size by more than 25%, which is in this case 4,998 square feet. The proposed homes would have a total floor area of 5,109 feet, including the attached 711 square foot 3-car garage. Therefore, the houses require a CUP for a large home. Additionally, an administrative use permit is required for the 2-story homes. The proposed single-family residences feature an inspired Mediterranean-style architecture. The proposed houses on parcel 1 and 2 will be consistent in style and design, but will vary in orientation and materials used. The proposed homes will incorporate cross-hip roofing with concrete roof tile. The roofing will also incorporate cornices with moderate roof overhang. The front elevation will include a tall entryways with decorative pilasters and double doors. The houses are designed with the second story smaller in floor area in comparison to the first story. Additionally, the house proposed on parcel 1 includes stone veneer to provide architectural detail, whereas on parcel 2, brick siding is incorporated along the elevations. The floor plan for the proposed houses are similar and consists of a total square footage of 5,109 feet. The first floor will consist of a bedroom, family room, living room, dining room, kitchen, library, laundry room, and a front entry area. The first floor will also incorporate 2 outdoor patio areas leading to the rear yard. The second story will include a master bedroom and 3 bedrooms with en-suite bathrooms. The homes feature a total of 6 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. The proposed houses do not include decks or balconies. The following slides are basically the floor plans of each of the homes. So here you see how it includes the kitchen, the dining room, and the 3-car garages. And here's the second floor. Here's the elevation of parcel 1, which includes the stone veneer siding and the architectural detailing. And here's for parcel 2, which is basically the same thing. And the only difference is that it would incorporate brick siding rather than the stone veneer. Staff review of the neighborhood surrounding the subject property found that the area consists of a variety of houses that were constructed between 1950 and 1960s. Staff conducted a survey of 23 homes surrounding the subject property. The houses in the survey are located on Barranca Street, Cortez Street, and Larkwood Street. The surveyed homes consist of a mixture of 1- and 2-story houses with 2-, 3-, and 4-car garages. The following chart shows the mean and median lot size, square footage of the homes, number of bedrooms, and floor area ratio of the surveyed homes. The mean is the average of all 23 of the homes, and the median is the number that falls directly in the middle of it listed in numerical order. The median size of the homes is 4,714 square feet. The house sizes range from 2,085 square feet to 8,028 square feet. Lot sizes of the surveyed homes range from 15,326 square feet to 68,714 square feet, while the lot size of the proposed subject properties are 18,471 square feet. Floor area ratios range from 5% to 21%. The proposed floor area ratio of the subject property is 28%. The houses, as proposed, would be 0.9 times the average size of the surrounding surveyed homes. The proposed house will be 1.5 times smaller than the largest house size surveyed of the surveyed homes, which is 8,028 square feet. The applicant conducted 5 surveys and mailed a letter to 9 adjacent neighbors of the proposed project site. The applicant visited homes during multiple dates to discuss the project proposal. Additionally, the applicant sent a notice of the project proposal to the neighbors for an opportunity in their convenience to discuss the project proposal. The project is consistent with the general plan. The proposal is consistent with the following general plan policies and actions, which is policy 3.3. New growth will complete and enhance and reinforce the form and character of the unique West Covina neighborhood, district, and corridor. This project is categorically exempt under the California Environmental Quality Act, since the project consists of subdividing an existing 39,942 square foot lot to 2 parcels, each of 18,471 square feet, and the construction of 2 single-family residences. The project is proposed in an area of the city that is comprised primarily of 1- and 2-story single-family residential homes. The site is currently improved with 1 single-family residence with a detached garage. The subdivision to create 2 single-family lots is compatible with the neighboring properties in regard to lot size. The proposed project meets or exceeds development standards for the proposed 2-parcel subdivision. The proposed 2-story homes to be constructed are designed similar in nature of the homes in the neighborhood. The vehicle access to the new homes will be via Barranca Street, which is parcel 1, and Cortez Street, parcel 2. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolutions approving tentative parcel map number 73-142, conditional use permit numbers 17-05 and 17-06, and administrative use permits numbers 16-16 and 1654. Staff also recommends that the Planning Commission approve Subcommittee for Design Review numbers 16-72 and 16-73. The conditions of approval are all included in the respective resolutions, and I believe the applicant and the homeowner or the property owner are present if you have any questions. Thank you.
Any questions, Commissioner Ritholtz?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Were the 2 neighboring schools, were they notified of this?
I don't think they were.
Would they not be? Because, I mean, they were within the
Yeah, because
distance, right?
they were within the distance, but they were not in the list of homeowners and occupants that we were given.
Okay, so there's been,
You think? I would have to re-look on the addresses, which I could go take a look right now, but they should be within the 300-foot radius.
I'm just curious, obviously you've had no communication from them, I would assume.
Yeah, I haven't had any communication with them.
Just one.
Anything else? Commissioner Ritholtz?
Just one other thing. For this project, there are no variances asked for, right?
No, there are no variances. They're meeting all the development standards. They only have the conditional use permit for the large home and the administrative use permit for the 2nd-story addition.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Christine, do we have a copy of the tentative parcel map in compliance with the Subdivision Map Act?
No.
Thank you. Does the applicant have that by any chance, the TPM?
I believe that we could ask him if he has it.
Okay.
And the schools were notified. Yes.
Would the applicant like to come forward, please? And would you please fill out a card when you're done and give it to Mr. Garcia? Pink card on the, when you're done, when you're finished.
And then, yeah.
For the owner, I would like to answer any question you may have.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Christopher Lowe.
Is there any questions of Commissioner Jimenez?
Christopher, I asked for a copy of the tentative parcel map.
Yes,
Do you have
I
a
do
copy
have a
of that?
copy.
I see the one you provided in the site plan, but I believe you used some sort of combination of the site plan to represent that of your parcel map. I would like to see a copy of your tentative parcel
Okay.
map. Have you gone down to the county to obtain a tentative parcel map number? Has this been filed with the county? Why?
My civil engineer is working on the, just a preliminary subdivision with the tentative chart map.
Have you done a survey of the property?
Oh, yes, we did.
But you haven't gone to the county to get your tentative parcel map number?
No.
That's the only question I have.
I think there might be some confusion with the applicant because they have a tentative map number, so I believe that has occurred. But, so that's on my only
I
caveat.
believe the county, though, would issue a separate independent TPM number, which is like a 4 to 5 digit number. That's, I believe they have a staff one, right?
No, this is the number they gave us. Well, this is not a number assigned by
Okay.
City of West Covina. This is a number from the county that we.
Do we have a copy of that map that has the number, the heading, all prepared in compliance?
Let me kind of try to provide a little bit. This has been going on for quite some time. This map was submitted 2 years ago or something? 2 or 3 years ago, so it may not have been with you, this gentleman may not have been involved at the beginning.
Are you saying the number came from the county? Is that what you-
The number did not come from the city.
not come from
So when they fill out the application, they give us the number that,
Okay.
that our assumption is it came from the county. That's what our assumption is.
Okay, I have no further questions, but if it's okay, I need to look at this a little bit longer,
yes.
okay? Thank you.
Anyone else? Question? None? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We might call you back up, so. Does anybody else want to speak in favor of the project? Anyone want to speak against the project? None? Okay, I'll close it to public and open it up to commission discussion. Who'd like to go first?
Question.
You have a question?
For
Commissioner
staff,
Reynolds.
perhaps. One of the emails we got indicated they suggested a traffic study. I mean, is that something that we would do? I mean, we didn't do one, right? Nobody did. I mean, it's not our job anyway, right? It would be the applicants.
Well, we do traffic studies when,
Yeah.
we do traffic studies when it meets the threshold for a CEQA evaluation. And sometimes if it's we might do a quick traffic analysis. You're talking about 10 trips a day added for each house. So you're talking about 20 trips a day. That's not going to make much difference in the amount of traffic that's on Barranco, or the amount, I shouldn't say the amount of traffic, the capacity for traffic on Barranco or Cortez.
No, I understand. I'm just,
But no, that's
guy
why,
brought it up, and I'm just,
that's why we didn't do it, because it didn't meet the CEQA threshold for review.
Okay, and on the other communication we got, he says it's not a good fit for the existing properties and zoning as it exists. Can you address that?
The subject property is actually zoned for single-family residential, and like I stated, it meets the development standards for that zone as well as that area district, meaning that it meets the minimum lot size requirement, it meets the height, it meets the setbacks, it meets all of that. The only thing that I guess you could say that it's deviating from is from the allowable unit size, which is why they're requesting the conditional use permit. But other than that, it technically meets all the development standards of its zone and its area district.
And you stated, and I agree with you, architecturally, it does fit in with the existing properties that are neighboring. It's not a,
No, it's not if you drive around that area, it has various styles in architecture. All the homes there seem to be quite unique in its own character. So I think if anything, these two homes will be similar to themselves, but not necessarily to everything else. But it is similar in size, in style, basically in scale. So I think it's pretty consistent with the neighborhood.
Do you want to ask that?
I'm just
Commissioner
going to
Hernandez?
jump on it. It's really a hunch. It's nothing, I think. I'm looking at the information that's provided. I'm sorry. Maybe I may ask the applicant. I just want to confirm I'm not missing something here, and primarily goes back to the survey. In the survey, do we have any portions of the property labeled here as 512 that would be to the So this is Barranca to the north. Did the survey show any buildings at 512 encroaching into this property? I just want to confirm. A pool? I mean, and it could be distortion, and I accept that. I just want to confirm that there were no encroachments from that neighboring property. Okay.
Just to follow up on that, if there's no encroachments, does there have to be a setback from the pool to the property line? Because it looks like the property line goes through the pool.
So you're talking about on the 512 Barranca?
Yeah, 512 and 524.
My assumption is what Commissioner Jimenez was referring to, that sometimes with aerials, just by the way that it works, they don't hit the boundary exactly. Yes, there's supposed to be a setback. Yes, from the pool, well, from any structure, but the situation here is that property line is not changing. The proposal here does not change that northernmost property line. All it does is add a property line in the middle of 524. So I think that there's a question, if the survey they did agrees with the aerial or agrees with that the structures on the north, the property to the north are all on their property. That's the question.
Yeah. And I just wanted to confirm because I don't see any reference on this half map here of any of the neighboring structures. They were not identified, so I just wanted to
Well, not to
double
beat
check.
it, not to beat it to death though, but usually the tree line usually is along a fence line or the property line. And the trees look like they're on 524 side according to this. But if you look at the property next door at 3025, there's a pool there too, and there's a tree line. So I guess it just bears to ask the question, where is the property line?
And the survey is how you.
Is it to the south of the tree line?
My assumption is when you try to read an aerial, I would do the same thing you just did. I would assume that the line, there's a fairly clear line shown there, which looks like it's about 20 feet south of where the line is shown. But there's a difference in vegetation color, and there's a fence or something that's a bold line. So yeah, I think that the aerial is just a little bit off on where that property line actually is, but the survey is going to be what tells us that for sure.
So the survey, if there was an error, the survey would show that? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I think we closed it to public. It's open to commission. Anybody want to make comment?
Sure, I'll begin. I've always wondered when this property would clean itself up. I'm very familiar with that corner. It always looked very farm-like. As far as the emails we received, yeah, as Ms. Delostrinos mentioned, there's no rezoning going on, no variances. Yeah, and as far as the driveways both being on Barranca, I don't agree with that. I like the design. I think it looks wonderful. I think the proposal's great. I don't think there's any kind of, I'm very familiar with that corner. There's no risk there, in my opinion, about accidents. The driveway proposed on Cortez is far enough away from the intersection. In fact, I think Barranca, if it were to be dangerous, would be more dangerous, but I don't think either side is dangerous. So I like this proposal. I think it's really going to clean up that corner. I think I already emphasized how I've wondered for probably 2 decades when this would happen or something like it. So I'm comfortable with this. I like it. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to commend the applicant for the outreach done to the surrounding residences. I mean, not only did you do that, you provided us quite a log of, the addresses, the time, when you spoke to these individuals. And, it's just a good idea for any developer to outreach the neighbors that would be impacted by the development itself, and I appreciate that. I agree with Commissioner Castellanos. I mean, that, also let me say, I'm glad the schools were notified, and, you know, they expressed apparently no concern by being silent. And it's going to be bringing 2 pretty nice homes into the city. It's going to improve that lot tremendously, and, you know, I'm ready to go forward with it.
Thank you. Commissioner Manis? Nothing? Commissioner Hang? Nothing? I agree with my fellow commissioners. I was always kind of scared to walk by that property. I didn't know what was inside there. But I think it's going to be a great addition. And besides that, the homes are, what, 5,000 square foot? And the roof height is only 25 foot. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it's amazing. But no, I think it's going to be a welcome addition. It's going to be great there. There's some very nice homes in that surrounding area, and that's kind of been a downer there. So I'm in favor of the project the way it is. I think it's going to look very nice. And as far as the access or the entrance to the street, I'm not a traffic expert, but I go by there daily, and it seems to me the way they've got it laid out is the best way. I'd rather go in off Cortez than Barranca. There's some pretty heavy traffic on Barranca. But I'm not asking them to change anything, because I think they've got one entrance on Barranca and one on Cortez. So I'm in favor of this, and looking forward to going forward with it. So could we have a
Mr.
reading
Chairman,
of?
I'll make a motion once we get the numbers.
Yeah, that's what I wanted, the numbers.
Let me give you some numbers here. There are 3 resolutions. So the first one is 17, actually, let me be more clear. Tentative parcel map 73142 is 17-5866. Administrative use permit 1616 is 17-5867. And administrative use permit 1654 is 17-5868.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move these items as enumerated by the planning director.
And I'll second that.
Do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second
We have a second. We have roll call, please.
Yes. Commissioner Redholz.
Aye.
Commissioner Jimenez.
Yes.
Commissioner Castellanos.
Yes.
Commissioner Hing.
Yes.
Chairman Holtz.
Yes, passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Good luck.
It's appealable,
Yeah.
You want me to say it? Yeah. This action be appealable
This action
to,
are final unless appealed to the city council within 10 days. Okay, brings us to number 4, Code Amendment number 16-07, applicant City of West Covina, location citywide. Request the proposed code amendment consists of an amendment to the zoning section of the West Covina Municipal Code to modify standards for off-sale alcohol sales. May we have the staff report, please?
yes.
Who's
Code
going to
amendment-
give staff report?
Your charming director will be
Yours
giving the
truly.
staff report.
Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. Code Amendment number 1607 is for off-sale alcoholic beverages. We've been working on this for the past couple of months. On November 1st, 2016, the City Council initiated the Code Amendment to consider requiring discretionary approval for off-sale alcohol uses. Off-sale alcohol uses include things like liquor stores, drug stores, grocery stores, markets, places like Walmart and Target, Bevmo, those type of places where retail, liquor is sold as a retail good. So on April 11, 2017, the Planning Commission held a study session to consider potential modifications to the municipal code, and direction was provided at that point in time for the staff to prepare an amendment. Off-sale alcoholic uses have historically been a permitted use in the city of West Covina. In 2004, that was changed. At that time, a requirement for an administrative use permit was required when when a business like this was located in an area of undue concentration as defined by the California Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control, affectionately known as ABC. Undue concentration is basically areas where you have a lot of commercial activity, where you have so concentration of off-sale alcohol uses in one small geographic area. So generally, those type of situations are found in places like Eastland or Plaza West Covina, locations where there's lots of activity. And I think what's happened over time is it's been a concern when these type of establishments have opened in primarily residential areas, which are not undue concentration, so therefore they're still allowed by right. I think that's how we kind of got to the situation we're in right now. The proposed code amendment provides the following: requires an administrative use permit for all new off-sale use of alcoholic beverages in specified commercial zones and manufacturing zones. So we took the same ones they're allowed in now, and we either as an allowed use by right or through undue concentration, and we included those. So those include all commercial zones except for office professional, which doesn't allow it right now, so we didn't include it. But it also does include the manufacturing zone, which does have some, I think, one off-sale use that I'm aware of. Secondarily, provides a finding that requires analysis of the separation of off-sale alcoholic beverage uses from sensitive uses such as residential uses and zones, schools, parks, and religious facilities. Lastly, we did clean up some language, and I didn't have it on here, but in working with the city attorney's office, there was some language. For instance, the section this was housed in the code was called on-sale alcohol license. So we changed that because we're talking about off-sale to alcohol beverage service. So, and then we added a couple other standards for review to make sure that if someone increases the intensity of a use, that they have to get they have to have a new review. So if somebody has from starting right, if this was approved today and you had a use, we'll throw Target under the bus. It's Target, and Target wants to expand the area where they're selling alcohol, they would need to come back through us to get an AUP now because they're expanding where it's at. As long as they keep it how much they have right now, they would be what a lot of people refer to as grandfathered. They would be a legal non-conforming use that's allowed to continue in that vein. But if they expand it, then they would need to go through this new whatever process is established by the Planning Commission and City Council. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution recommending approval of Code Amendment number 1607 to the City Council. And subsequent to the Planning Commission recommendation, the Code Amendment would be scheduled for a hearing by the City Council. We did receive an email this afternoon from Robert Torres, who's graced us with his presence tonight, so he may have want to add to that. But that information is in front of you. And I think that's what I have to present. I think that concludes my comments. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this point in time.
Any questions of staff?
I just have
Commissioner Redholz?
one. I just, had a glancing over Mr. Torres's email here. It says require employees selling alcohol after 10 to be over the age of 21. Don't you have to be over 21 to sell alcohol anyway? At any time of day?
I'm not aware of what that would be an ABC requirement,
Okay.
and I didn't research ABC requirements.
Okay.
I know in restaurants and all that, in order to serve alcohol, you have to be 21, waitresses and all that. Because my granddaughter works at Outback, and she can't serve alcohol. She has to call somebody else. Anyone else? Okay. Where are we at here? I'll open up the public testimony. I have one card here from our previous mayor, Frederick Sykes. Would you like to come up, please?
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission, city staff, members of the audience. I'm Frederick Sykes, 39-year resident of West Covina, and as stated before, former mayor of West Covina. I'm retired deputy sheriff, and I'm also currently I'm a member of the West Covina Oversight Board. And I'm here to give support for the effort to move forward on Code Amendment 1607. And it's just with the idea, I mean, why I'm here tonight is just about believing in the idea of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I walk daily in my neighborhood, and so I see some things that concern me with alcohol and use and marijuana most every day. And so I'm hoping that if you guys haven't done so, that you please take an opportunity to visit perhaps Shadow Park and maybe the nearby Paseos, where you can see that there's quite a bit of use of alcohol in public and also marijuana. Both those situations are in evidence. Also, there's much in the way of vandalism and graffiti, which oftentimes seem to be related with these late night drinking parties and so forth that you have. You have a lot of glass from the alcoholic containers that are thrown onto the wheelchair ramps and sidewalks, in particular at the rear or the north side of the Shadow Park Community Center. And I would say that I'm certain that it's not just this kind of issue happening with Shadow Park. I'm sure there's some other parks that offer this type of activity where there's places where people can secret away and be hidden by our green spaces and the trees and the brushes. So, yeah, I would definitely ask, if you haven't, go out and take a look, because that's what makes me appreciate what you guys are doing here in the way of moving towards a strong idea of controlling the off sales of alcohol. And the other thing about living where on the south side is that we have locations that are easy access that are out of the cities. Walnut, from Shadow Park, it's only a couple of blocks, and you're able to go to Walnut and boom, get your alcohol. And City of Industry, same thing, only a few blocks from the borderline. And same thing with unincorporated La Puente. And so you see all these folks, they may buy in those areas, but they come to our neighborhood because of the paseos and the park and all that places where they can secret away and do these nice things that they don't want the public to see. And they can do it right there in our neighborhood. And, you know, with being a product of Watts, Willowbrook, and Compton, I stayed here because of the wholesome state of mind that I saw and quality of life. City has, not so much now, we have to work on that to bring it back, but it had a strong, back in the 70s, definitely, a strong public safety. And then there's also, we still, a lot of us, have a pride in our community. And so what you guys do here, you have a powerful impact on that. So I'm asking that you guys please continue to make resolutions on the side of being strict on the control sale of alcohol and off sale. And then also marijuana's coming. So again, throw that into the mix with the mindset of being strict on these issues and anything that adds to addicting substances. And finally, just to say, you know, I know that you guys have been around for quite a while, and I'm sure that you've visited some other places. You don't have to go too far, and you can see what happens and how the things that you guys do or that we overlook that can create a slump. So keep up the good work, gentlemen. I like what you're doing, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Come on up. Hot off the press. Mr. Wilkins, would you like to speak?
evening, Commissioners. I was notified by Mr. Torres that this is going to be on the agenda. Basically, the way I understand the situation, you're all familiar with the liquor store that went in less than 2 years ago down on Azusa Avenue, just north of Francisquito. And there was some concern, talk in the neighborhood about how did that happen without notification. And it's my understanding, the way this proposal is, that they will remedy that situation. So when the off-sale applicant would like to establish a business, that there'll be more communication about that, and which I think is a good thing. So I think that's the way we're going, so I just wanted to endorse that. I am a resident of West Covina for 44 years. My wife and I have lived here, so, and I've been at this podium on more than one occasion.
Thank you. Mr. Torres, would you like to come up, please?
Good evening. Okay, so as I wrote in my emails, and I provided a clear one, so I know that email printout's probably dry, so I made it a little larger. So the intent of, I guess, my recommendations is simply to make sure that when we do this code amendment, we're trying to move towards the most restrictive and still allowing these businesses to be financially feasible, and also increase public safety in West Covina. And as I spoke to when we were considering the sale of alcohol at gas stations, the research I did then showed that the city itself is overconcentrated. We have, I think it was 62 at the time I researched, and according to all the census tract data, we were recommended 58 by ABC. So my view on this is mixed. It's positive because I know we're moving forward in the right direction as far as requiring an AUP for all alcohol, off-sale alcohol permits. But I think that we need to make a conservative effort to move beyond what was asked for. And for me, what's being done now is a minimum. I think we need to look at the 8 requirements that I asked for in the handout I gave to you. The first being possibly requiring a CUP as opposed to an AUP. I know that there's not much of a difference. As far as I could tell, it was just the removal of planning director's approval power, where it may not be Jeff in the future. Hopefully it's Jeff for the rest of this decade. But my intent there is not really to take away the power of, because I'm sure Jeff's knowledge is well-intended, and he'll make choices that I think would probably reflect the community's needs. But I just think that CUP is more appropriate simply because it'll mandate a public hearing process as opposed to having the ability to bypass that, which an AUP would allow for. The second would be to require separation from sensitive uses. I know that was determined to be discussed on a case-by-case basis. I think we need to have some type of distance requirement. I recommend 1,000 feet. That might be too much for your commission, maybe less, but I think we should have at least something, a marker, because what will happen, in my opinion, is that we'll have discretionary decisions made where one applicant might be treated differently. So this allows us to say, okay, everything within 1,000 feet we should look at. That doesn't necessarily mean it'll deny the permit, but we should look at. And also anything beyond 1,000 feet, because distance is kind of variable depending on the impact. So that would be one recommendation, to have an actual distance in the code. The third one is to have some more guidance on modifying hours. I noticed that we just have a blanket statement that says we have the authority to modify hours based on, I guess, site specifics or the use specifics, but we should have some guidance there, because in my experience, I've noticed that a lot of cities have that and very few exercise it, simply because I don't think they want to discriminate against one business or the other, and it's very hard to define. So I think we should have some type of direction in the code for that. Also, on-site security, same thing. I think we need more guidance in the code as opposed to what we have now, which simply says that we have the authority to do so. It should be based on maybe crime data, something measurable, fact-based. And also we should require state licensed security guards if we move forward, because in my experience, and I'm sure your experience, when you see state licensed security guards versus none, there's a major difference in the professionalism and in the knowledge. Fifth would be separation between uses, alcohol uses. Right now, we're moving away from that. I know Jeff mentioned because we want to make sure we don't prohibit businesses. I think that would be good for the city. But I think we should have that requirement in and put the onus on the applicant to show us that that requirement wouldn't impact the community. So we should have that with the findings to be. Can I have a minute more?
Speakers exceeded 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so that's one requirement, that we actually have a separation between alcohol uses. One was already mentioned, employees should be 21. I'm not really sure if ABC supersedes what we have, but I know that other cities have that in their code. Limiting the 5% shelf space, that's also in a lot of cities' codes. That's not in our code. If we do decide to put uses close together, we should have that to limit the amount of alcohol. And the last would be further guidance on the public convenience. That's kind of a complicated topic, but I think there should be guidance in the code to actually define what public convenience, how public convenience should be met. And I know LA County Code has about 9 items that they list to kind of guide their commission and their city to determine whether public convenience is necessary. And I noticed that that was absent in our code. So for that, again, I'm kind of for it and I'm against it. I want to make sure that we're moving forward in the most restrictive possible way with not making businesses financially infeasible. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Torres? How do you see the requiring a CUP going through a public hearing process? How do you see that working?
Well, from my experience, like I've been involved in a few cities, have family in other cities, so then sometimes they'll ask me for help, and I've noticed that the CUP is generally more comprehensive, restrictive, and like I mentioned earlier, Jeff has the power to approve alcohol licenses with the AUP, and I'm sure he'll, and many planning directors might, make sure to follow the direction of the council or the citizens and make sure that a hearing is asked for. But I just see that a CUP is more comprehensive and it requires a hearing as opposed to an AUP, which doesn't require a hearing. That would have to be asked for from either a member of the public, the planning director, the commission. In general, I think CUPs are in all cities. I researched and I didn't find any other city that has AUPs. Most other cities require a CUP for.
So just for clarification, you're saying you recommend it would be like on the agenda for the city council and the public could address whether they want it or they don't want it?
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
what I would
All right.
recommend, simply because
Okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong with adding that. I don't think it would be a detriment to any of the businesses.
Okay, the other thing is, I guess this is a recap of.
Yeah, I just enlarged
Oh,
the
okay.
text because,
Yeah, 'cause
like I
right-
mentioned,
right- Well, the serving of alcohol, that's an ABC issue. That's not a city issue. But I don't understand why you'd want to do it after 10 p.m.
that's just an example I saw. I think it was either
Why
LA
wouldn't you want to,
County.
why wouldn't you want to do it, people have to be over 21 to serve alcohol,
Right, and,
not 10 p.m. or anything.
right, I just threw that out there, but
Yeah.
at least from what I remember reading, I don't know if it's across the board that they have to be 21.
Well, that's
but-
ABC's rule. That's not city rule. Correct, Jeff?
No,
we didn't research that.
I just Googled it, you can be 18. You can't be a bartender or a cocktail waitress serving only alcohol, but if you're a restaurant server, you can serve alcohol. to somebody who's eating.
So that must be a local issue.
Yeah, no, that's true, huh, yeah.
So the intent would be to actually have something in the code that would point to that in cases where we would think that it's necessary. Maybe, for example, like a grocery store, it might not be so necessary.
Okay,
But in a liquor store, it might be warranted.
okay. Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Close it to public hearing, open up to commission discussion. Commissioner Reynolds?
Is it a public, is this, oh, it is a public hearing. Yeah, I have a question. How much leeway does the city have? I mean, ABC is pretty much the driving force here, right? I mean, does the city have ability to, what is the city's ability?
Well, we haven't researched this extensively, but in a general sense, the city, they can't have standards more lenient than ABC because ABC is still going to enforce those standards, at least theoretically. But we could have, I believe we could have standards that are more, that have a higher threshold than ABC.
And one other thing, we had a study session on this. We were given options. Wasn't one of the options a CUP? And we opted to go with the AUP as a commission.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I thought.
Well, and just maybe to help with that, the discussion there was, I think, based on the fact that that's what we're doing now. So an AUP is what we're doing now for on-sale alcohol as well as off-sale alcohol for undue concentration.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Let's see. We need resolution numbers, or do we need to make a motion first? We need
You need if you're done with discussion, I can give you the resolution number, and then you can discuss a motion. The resolution number would be 17-5869.
Okay. Do we have a motion for resolution 17-5869?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Second, Brett Holtz. Thank you very much. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Redholz?
Aye.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Yes.
Commissioner Castellanos?
Yes.
Commissioner Hing? Yes. Chairman Holtz?
Aye. Passes 5-0. Okay, final action on this matter will be taken at a public hearing before the City Council on a date to be determined. Don't have any non-hearing items, I take it?
Correct.
Okay, continuation of all communications. Anyone say anything on that more? We have a young lady out there that hasn't spoken yet. She's keeping it to herself. Commission reports, comments, and miscellaneous items. This is a time when any member of the commission may bring a matter to the attention of the full commission that is within the scope of duties assigned to the commission. Any item that was considered during the agenda is not appropriate for discussion in this section of the agenda. No commission discussion or action can be considered at this time. If the commission desires to discuss an issue raised by a speaker or take an action, the commission may vote to agendize the matter for a future meeting. Comments? Anybody? No?
I just want to remind everybody that we have a July 4th celebration coming up, since we're not going to meet, and the city council is not going to meet since it's July 4th for that meeting. Okay. But unless they're that dedicated, probably not. But, we're going to have the pancake breakfast at Hearst Ranch, which is being put on by the West Covina Elks. And it's to, I guess the proceeds from it will go to the Elks Lodge. I think the MDA is no longer a part of this.
Is this on July 4th?
Yes.
Okay.
The pancake breakfast, I think, is $5, 8 o'clock to 11. And then the fireworks, and I guess there's some type of carnival. I'm not sure exactly what. The city is doing it this year, so I don't know what they're putting together, but I think that's going to start about 3 o'clock at Edgewood, at the, the track and the field over there at Edgewood High School. And then, of course, the fireworks show will be at 9 o'clock. And I believe there's a $1 charge to get in for that. Mm-hmm. So
thank you.
That's coming up.
Okay. You mentioned MDA. I don't know if you know this or not. Excuse me. John Hughes was going to go in for hip surgery, and I guess when he got in the hospital, they decided that he needed 3 stents in his heart. So instead of the hip surgery, he got 3 stents. And I called, this was last week, and I called his house to see how he was doing. His wife said, oh, he's out playing golf at South Hills. So evidently, yeah, it wasn't too bad. The other question I have, the Lotus dealership on Garvey, is that still in business because they don't have any cars there? Nissans, huh? Sold out? Sold out all the cars. Are they closed down?
They can't keep them in stock.
Brooks cars and backward.
I have not heard, I believe they're still in operation. I just don't know what their stocking situation is.
I think they're owned by the Nissan dealership.
I believe they're owned by
Okay,
Sage, yes.
So if Sage wants to use, because they're using it for their cars, the Nissans, I guess that's no problem then, right?
It
Or do
hasn't.
they have to-
I don't know that there's a problem with that, as long as they don't, they're not breaking any rules with the.
Okay, well, they own the property, I guess, they own, okay. That's all I had. Planning directors, anybody else? No? Planning directors report?
We have a forthcoming, we don't have any items for the next scheduled meeting, so we'll be dark at the end of the month here, but we do have items on July 11th. So keep that in mind. There's also the project status report. They're providing you status of projects that the Planning Commission has approved over the last few years that are still under construction or awaiting start of construction. And lastly, I do want to thank Dario as well. He had a extended time as a chairman, and appreciate that. It was good to work with him, and I think we had a good working relationship, and I do appreciate all of his hard work and returning all the multiple phone calls we placed on him. You know, the chairman does have some functions that go beyond what happens here, and now's a good time to find out, isn't it, Don? So, so I do appreciate all Dario's work there, and especially working with staff. Makes it much easier as a staff member to work with someone as easy to work with as Dario. And we look forward to the same with Don. That's all I have. Yes, nothing to report from the previous council meeting, but the next council meeting, the appeal of the parcel map on Cameron is scheduled for hearing next Tuesday night.